Hi guys, this is Brenda with Keenan Kreations, and today I'm going to show you a fun technique for embossing your cardstock vellum. This image is stamped on cardstock vellum, and when you apply pressure on the back side with your stylus, you can see how it raises the image here, and it also turns the vellum white. To get started, we're going to stamp this image in Black Stays On cardstock vellum. I've already stamped it here, and I've also die cut it with the scallop oval framelits. Now I want this to lay underneath this little white oval frame that I've created, but I don't want to have to worry about lining up the scallops exactly, so I'm going to go ahead and do just a little bit of trimming here. All I'm doing is just snipping off the scallop. So I'm going just a little bit past that piece right there. So this way I'll still have enough to glue it to the white frame, but it won't be the same size, so I don't have to worry about little pieces not lining up properly and sticking out past the frame. The next thing we're going to do is use a piercing mat, and we're going to take this image and turn it face down. And we're going to use the stylus. There's a small point and a large point. I prefer to use the large. And all you're going to do is go in a circular motion and apply a little bit of pressure. So just go like this. And you can see how it's already turning the vellum white. It's actually breaking the fibers in the vellum, and it's kind of pushing the vellum down a little bit. So if I turn it over, you can see how that is already starting to raise up a little bit, and it's nice and white on this side. So as you're doing this process, you'll kind of be flipping back and forth and double checking to make sure that's nice and white. Now you can see that I'm going over the lines that are inside because it's still black on this side. You don't want to press so hard that you cut through the vellum, so you want to have kind of a firm pressure but not too hard. You just want to go over it a couple of times to get it nice and white. The other thing you might notice is that sometimes this stylus doesn't glide very easy across the vellum. So if you take wax paper and place that on top, you can still see through it, and then you go over it, you'll notice that it glides really, really easy. And I actually prefer to use the wax paper. And if you do that for a couple of the images, you can actually remove the wax paper, and it's almost like it still has a little bit of that wax left on the stylus, and then you can go to the next one. So if you find that it kind of catches on the cardstock vellum and it's not gliding as smooth as you would like it to, just pull out the wax paper, and then that'll help it to move a little bit easier. So when you're ready to work on the large flowers, just know that there's an open space right here in the center. This little triangle here is open. So just go in a little circular motion. And I like to outline the flower first and then work my way in. So that way I know that I've gotten all the edges of the flower and I haven't missed one of the petals. But it's really this simple, and it's a lot of fun. I will tell you, I tend to have a death grip on this stylus, and so my hand gets a little bit tired. So give yourself a break, wiggle your fingers a little bit and then kind of get back to it. So once I have most of it done, I'm going to move the wax paper, and I want you to see how this is not as white as that. And so if you turn it over, you can see these are nice and white. And then this one, we need to work it just a little bit more. So just set it down and then start going again. And you can see just going that second time over the same area, you can see how much more wider that is getting. So it does take a little bit of time. So just, don't be in a hurry. Just enjoy the process and just go over this until you get it as white as you like, being careful not to go too much so you don't crack the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these other flowers, and I'll be right back. Okay, so my flowers are all nice and embossed, and you can see that they're white on this side, and if I turn it this way, you can see that the flowers are raised and it has some nice dimension. You'll also notice that the vellum is a little bit kind of warped. So when we go to glue it, we want to use a lot of adhesive. Right now I'm going to go ahead and color in the leaves and the stem, and I'm going to use Stampin' Up! Markers. I think this is chocolate chip and wild wasabi. The chocolate chip I'm going to color on the back side, and I'm just going to color straight to the paper. You don't have to be too perfect with this. And then I do want to follow the lines for these thinner branches up here, right up to the flower. And also these little buds right here. And the leaves you can color as well on the back side. It's going to be a little bit lighter on the front, so you might use a darker color on the back than you would normally use. Now I noticed after I started coloring that when I was swirling around with the stylus, I actually kind of went over the area for the green on these little buds, so I am going to color that on the front. If I tried to color the little leaf area like right here, because the vellum is already white, when you turn it over, it doesn't really show through as well. So I'm just going to use a light touch and add just a little bit of green right here. We're going to add the frame to the front. And I'm going to turn the frame over. I'm going to use my pokey tool with a sharp point here and glue dots. And I don't want to place them on top of the piercing that I've done around the edge because that'll flatten it out. So I'm just going to place it here. And I'm going to have one about every inch. You really need a lot of adhesive here. You could probably use liquid glue, but I feel more comfortable with the glue dots. I'm worried because my frame is so thin that the glue might kind of squish out and end up on my vellum. So once you have your glue dots all around the frame, you're going to take this piece face down and just line this up. And it doesn't have to be perfect because no one's going to see the back side. Now this is a little bit close to some of these scallops here, so I'm actually going to do just a little bit more trimming. Now this is Pool Party, but Soft Sky would also work. 8.5 by 5.5 and scored down the middle at 4 1/4. I'm going to add a few more glue dots, making sure that they do not show on the other side. I think that looks pretty good. Going back to the original, I just added a little bow. So I'm just going to trim this one. I'm not going to trim the whole thing, I just want part of this little flower here. And I'm not cutting right up on the image, I'm cutting just outside. I'm just going to take one glue dot and I'm going to put it right here in the center. And then push that down. Add your adhesive around all the edges. Isn't that pretty? So I hope you enjoyed today's project. For more ideas, you can visit me at KeenanCreations.com. Thanks and have a great day.